2 buttons to go live. Jarrod's ready, y'all. New Warriors come out to play. I'm starting off already by giving Jason Lady crap. He said, missed last month because I flaked out, but I'm here today. He flaked out. He would have been here, but he flaked out. Wow. Well, so thank you for gracing us with your presence, Jason Lady. And hello to Linkovich. Hello to Botboy Versus. Hello to Eric Porter. Hello to Matt Passo. I haven't even done any of the script. Yes, but y'all know where to find us because we're on YouTube and stuff. So we would love if you would like and subscribe if you're listening to this live stream. Well, I think I looked at it yesterday. We're at 351, so we just creeped over the 350 line. Help get us to 500. More people need to be listening to our ish. We would greatly appreciate it. It would be awesome. So now I can introduce Jarrod Albrecht, the yard sale artist, somewhat shrouded in darkness. I don't know whether he's being the Riddler of 25 years ago or so, or the Riddler of the recent movie, you know, with all that darkness. Something in the way. You saw the new Batman, right?
I did see the new Batman.
Okay. All right. Good. I watched the new Penguin, or watched the first 2 episodes. Miranda and I did. Of the new Penguin. Like, people were like, oh my God, new Penguin's so good. You got to watch it. And I'm not going to be watching every bit of new content, but Miranda happened to put it on and I didn't go anywhere or anything. So, and I watched it and I see the appeal. It's good. It's like, oh, okay. They have made the Penguin into, I can't say must watch. Like, oh my God, I have to watch the rest of the first season. But I was like, it's good.
You know my motto. If it came out after Airwolf, I probably won't see it.
Got it. So that's Jarrod Albrecht, the yard sale artist. Let me point the right way. Hold on. That's Jarrod Albrecht, the yard sale artist. I'm Delvin Williams, the Dark Web, Night Thrasher, Nova. Oh, I pointed the right way this time. It's so weird. They do this all the time. They do this all the time on exercise videos. They're like, with your left hand raised, and I'm like, I could never do that.
Because it's like you want to mirror the exercise guy, but then it's not your left hand, you know?
Right? I don't know. Anyway, you got a question for me? Are you doing that bit this time around?
Yeah, I am. I actually did think of a question ahead of time just to boggle your mind. There's a lot of extraneous things going on in the book right now. And it made me think. I was like, you know what? The Uncanny X-Men launched in 1960 something. And I would say, if I had to guess, that book, more than maybe any other book in history, might have spawned more ongoing titles than any other book ever. And I'm not joking. I think that might be true. So my question to you is, if you could pick just one, only one, you got to go back in history and erase all other X books, but you got Uncanny X-Men. You can pick one spin-off book from Uncanny X-Men to survive. What's it going to be?
The first one I thought of was X Factor, and not the original 5 that spawned off, which not a bad idea. You know, they're like, hey, you know, we're going to give them adventures as an adult. I mean, I think Louise Simonson wrote that book first. Don't hold me to that. But I bet someone in the chat's gonna know it. But I love the Peter David run, about issue 75 or so. And I don't know how long he ran. He ran it for a few years.
Well, you get the whole run, so that's fine.
Oh, if I get the whole run,
I say you're just picking one book, one book spinoff title that just you get to have, but all the other ones have to go away.
Let's go with X Factor. I am cool with X Factor. I know, like, you don't. I mean, you're somewhat steeped in X lore. Like, I mean, we're dragging you kicking and screaming with Amazing Spider-Man Chronicles, and you have a brother who grew up adoring Uncanny X-Men. Do you have a choice on that?
My first thought, and it's probably because I collected it as a kid for a good while, was New Mutants. New Mutants.
Okay.
Yeah, just the New Mutants. I mean, I think that's probably because it was like the first comic book that I ever really got in on the ground floor. You know, like I think I want to say it started in like 83 ish. The chat will know.
Yeah.
And I was just old enough to be going to the comic book stores and going, oh, this is new. This is interesting. So, yeah, I mean, I think New Mutants is fine. Although you could talk me into X Factor, possibly X Force. Yeah, I mean, there's so many. There's so many. Excalibur. I've read a fair amount of Excalibur, and that wasn't so bad. So,
and we got Matt Passo here who says X Factor original 5 for me, or X-Men 90s Blue Team. So that would basically just be X-Men, right?
Because X-Men, they did like split it off. Launched, yeah.
And like there's the blue team and the yellow team, and I think the yellow team was remained at Uncanny X-Men. Jason Lady says that Excalibur, when drawn by Alan Davis, and the Peter David X Factor is a close second. And mention also that Louise Simonson was a longtime X Factor writer. Someone else wrote the first 5 or 6 issues, but she took over it pretty quickly. I know that she had a little bit of say in Uncanny X-Men, or she had some experience with Uncanny X-Men because she was the editor. That's right.
I think she was. I feel like she was.
Yeah, it was like Louise something. She had a maiden name, and she wanted to marry something like that because she's been the editor for a few issues, so she knows all about Uncanny X-Men. So it made a lot of sense. And she was the one who flat out, when it came out with X Factor, said, oh yeah, I went ahead and did what I did to Angel because Angel was kind of boring. And I'm like,
Angel of all of them needed the makeover the most. That is true.
Oh dear goodness. See Jason Lady here, that Louise Jones, Mrs. Jones, and so
I said.
And hello to Jim Meal. Welcome to the chat, Jim. I had a thought and forgot about it. Other than a lot of these books have spawned multiple volumes at this point. X-Force ran a long time, so did X Factor. X Factor had several spawn-offs. So did X-Force, and I read a few of them, but like by the time at this point in time where it was like, oh, we're spawning off and everything, I'm collecting 2 X titles now. I'm collecting Uncanny X-Men and I'm collecting Adjectiveless X-Men. And I gotta catch up because I'm about 6 or 7 issues behind those. But I am into it. But all right, enough X chatter, as it were. Even though we did have a little bit more X chatter, maybe we get some readers. It's like, hello and welcome to Come Out to Play. Maybe not that. Maybe not that type of X chatter.
Your Matt Penfield, by the way.
No, this is my Matt Penfield. Welcome to 120 minutes. It's a little more husky, Jarrod. Come Out to Play is a chronicling of the 1990 series, The New Warriors. The first volume of New Warriors ran 75 issues. Man, we're approaching 50. We're almost 2/3 of the way done. We will cover all of this first volume as I rediscover my love for the series, help Jarrod and others find theirs, and share our love and joy with the listening audience. Grab your skateboards and bucket helmets. It's time to play, y'all. We are talking about New Warriors issue 46. We'll cover credits going to Derek Robertson and Larry Malstead. And Jarrod's probably got the cover all up. I don't even have to move. This is good. Welcome to Heinz Cook. And Jarrod's going to talk about the cover.
All right, there's a lot going on this cover. It maintains its trading card-like border, although it does work in the X-Force symbol along with the New Warriors symbol. The New Warriors logo is white with blue highlights. And it's a bunch of people out in the snow, led by Night Thrasher and Cable. I see Domino, Chimera, Gesundheit, Speedball, Warpath, Rage, Ashy Larry, Shatterstar, Chicken, Corn, Peppers, Nova.
You're now
and there's one more in the back. Cannonball. It's Cannonball in the back. Wait, no, there's one more. There's 2 more. Oh my God, they keep appearing. There's like Banshee, like Lady Banshee. Did she just go by Banshee?
Siren.
Okay. And then who's underneath Chimera? I can't tell.
That's Richter.
Richter Belmont from Castlevania. That's everybody. There's a lot of folks.
There are a lot of folks, and like I'm looking at it, you got the Flyers, Nova, and Cannonball. Going down from there, you got Shatterstar, you got Speedball, you got Cable, Rage, Domino, Night Thrasher, Warpath, Siren, Chimera, and Richter. Like, I don't know how many. Like in my head, that's 10, but I'm not going to do the counting.
They're all in the snow. There's a Child's Play Part 4 of 4 logo across the top and across the bottom. It says, United, they fall.
And fall they did, but we will get to that in a second. What do you think about the cover overall?
It's pretty good. I mean, especially for a mashup cover. I don't rightly remember who did it. Oh, wait, I can see. It's Malstead and
Derek Robertson.
It's Derek. Okay, I see it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's busy, but it's not bad busy because it's just kind of like, hey, here's everybody out in the snow. And in the book, everybody's out in the snow. I will say that I thought, intentional or not, the border work they did with the X-Force and New Warriors logos makes it look like it's also snowing. And anyway, yeah, it's for what this book is, it's a good cover. No complaints.
Yeah, the cover to me is my favorite part of the book, to be honest with you. Because like Derek got to draw a family portrait, and he continues his run of like, hey, if I'm done with the New Warriors, you can put me on X-Force, or you can put me on Fantastic Four, or they relaunch Cloak and Dagger. So like, I mean, he has shown out quite a bit, and I like this. Like, I mean, there's not a single bad character drawn on the book. It looked like this was one. They've had some art issues and stuff like that. And then I'm going to talk a little bit once we get to the book, like something about this whole thing, even though it was Fabian Nicieza written, something of like the whole thing, something about this seemed rushed to me. I don't know what it was. It felt like it was rushy. But this cover was not. This cover looked like they took their time on it and just put out a very, very good cover. So I'm glad for that reason. A little bit before, Matt Passo asked Matt Penfield, we planned some 90s alternative music videos in here. I mean, if you're in my car, given like any random day, you're going to get some 90s alternative. Like that new metal, I mean, that's your boy over here. And I think Jarrod snuck and listened to it, and he just pretended that he didn't and just called it lazy. But I don't have proof of that. So I'm still going to stare at him a little bit. Anyway, and Jason Lady adds, Cable rocking a vacuum cleaner over there because, yes, you know, vacuum cleaner guns were all the rage. It still was in the 90s, in the early 90s at that. We can go ahead and rate the cover if you want to. You don't have to dilly or dally. Around here, all these parts, we rate things on a scale of 1 to 10. Truncheons, if we're being fancy, nightsticks if we're talking to the hoi polloi. And we will rate this cover, I suppose. I'll go first. Why not? It's a good one. Like, it doesn't strike out like some of the best Derek Robertson posters, but like I don't have like an artist pantheon, or not one that I've thought about per se. But if we're talking New Warriors, specifically the first run, then, you know, Bagley, and Malstead, he got close. He got pretty good. And so like, if he comes up with a good cover, then to me, that's worthy of an 8. And I think this is a good cover. When he is on, like, I absolutely have had no problem giving him a 10 because I love his one-shot covers, especially like that Rage cover, for instance, was just fantastic. And he's done a couple other ones that just absolutely took my breath away. And we're going to have him for a few more issues. Unfortunately, Derek's not going to be with us much longer, but he's going to be with us for a few more. But I'm at a 8. Everybody chime in. I'll get your comments and read them as we go along. And Jarrod's going to give his right now.
Yeah, I was thinking 7. Honestly, I know Joe November's not here, so I think if I'm honest, it'd be about 7.5. But I'm okay to round it to the 8, actually, just because, I mean, he put a lot of characters. He used the space well. The border kind of works for the cover. Yeah, I'll go with an 8. It's
I like
an
the border.
unenthusiastic 8 or a super enthusiastic 7, however you want to look at it.
Yeah, I like the border. Like, I think that, you know, they kept the trade dress going, you know, with the triangle. Let's see, hold on. There we go. I just can't get my thumbs. Thank you. Like a triangle. There we go. We finally figured out a triangle shaped New Warriors. And then the X logo worked out pretty good, I thought. And I don't know whether they were doing that on the X books or not, but it would make sense if they did. You know, I mentioned that maybe I would go and check out Child's Play 1 and 3 over at the X Force. I didn't, because. So yeah, so I'll read a couple of the comments just real quick. I mentioned the rush job. Eric Porter said Fabian was writing like 10 Marvel titles at the time, so maybe that story felt rushed due to that. Possibly. They sort of had him on John Byrne duty. And Jason Lady said Eric could be, it could be. Plus, Robertson was gearing up for a double-sized issue 50, perhaps. Very, very, very possibly. And Scott O'Neill came into the chat and said, I don't dislike this crossover, but it always felt like 90% X-Force story and 10% New Warriors. And this story was designed to, in order, introduces Page's powers in anticipation of Generation X, bring back Danny Moonstar, and return Vance. The latter was almost forgotten from the jump. You're jumping ahead, Scott. We haven't talked about the story yet. I don't appreciate your rudeness, and so I'm going to give you a demerit. It's coming in the mail. Just make sure that you send me your address, and then I will send you a demerit. I mean, that's only fair. Jason Lady says, I give this cover an 8. Not easy to squeeze all of those characters in there. Agreed.
That's why I did it too.
And Matt Passo says, I really like this cover. Feels like a good trading card or poster. This one would have pulled me in back in the day and would grab me now. Also, give it a strong 9. And Heinz Cook says 8 is fair. So he's okay with the 8. And Jarrod's okay, I hope, with reading the cover credits for the issue and the credits.
Not a problem. This is New Warriors number 46. Its on sale date was February 22nd, 1994. Cover date is April of 1994. Cover price is $1.25. The story is Fabian Nicieza. The penciler is Derek Robertson. And inks go to Larry Malstedt, Danny Bulanati, and Ian Aiken. Colors by Joe Rosas. Letters by Steve Durto. And edited by Rob Tokar. Back to Delvin for the synopsis.
Sweet. Couple more comments. Botboy Versus says, my eyes are pulled towards the characters in red. It's an 8 for me. And Kathy, who just joined the chat, welcome, says, good stuff. It is an 8. And Scott wanted to know, is my demerit kind of like the LBC version of a no prize? Oh, it's like a picture, and I'm just kind of like, you know, like looking disappointed, like, you know, like I possibly could smack you, but I'm not. I'm a peaceful person. Plus, I have training, you know, and that's actionable. And who wants that? Here is the synopsis, y'all. The title of this book is There was no title to this story. Seriously, it's not there. Also goes to talk about the rush job, by the way. But this is Child's Play 4 of 4. There's just no title to it. Child's Play concludes as we learn that you can have all the power in the world, but sometimes the innocence of a child can go a long, long way. Jarrod, let's talk about it. He's going to bring up some images. We're going to talk about those images. Let's go.
Here we go again. Child's Play Part 4. Last time we talked about 2. I'm not as confused. It's still one of the most 90s things I've ever looked at. Let's go. I started with the double page spread, which clearly has the title of the book, which is doesn't have Doesn't have a title. So I just did the double page spread, really just because 2 reasons. One, it's a good looking page, good looking double page spread. And 2, it does the whole roll call thing, which really helped me out, as I was struggling in earlier issues to keep up with everybody. It's nice to have a roll call page. That's really the main reason why I pulled it up.
I'm telling you, like that roll call, I really liked it. Because Derek didn't just do it plain and like they weren't just, stock footage shots. Like they took like different poses of them. Like there's actually a cameraman there and it's like, all right, Thrash, I need you to smile for this picture. This is me smiling. And then they could barely get Speedball and Angle, and you got Justice, of course, standing there all proud, like he would and looking completely in frame. So I like that. I like how they had the different angles for all of them and just kind of did like a subtle little reveal of the personality. So I like that.
Indeed, I did as well.
I get that, by the way, Matt. He said needs 3 cables howling at the moon. The reason why there wasn't 3 cables howling at the moon is because everyone would have wanted to buy this issue then, and then everyone would have had like dozens of women attracted to them, and everyone would have just been distracted from their day-to-day operations. Did you get that reference, Jarrod?
No.
So back in the day, there was a 3 Wolves t-shirt. It was like a picture, or it was like some black t-shirt, and it had 3 wolves on it howling at the moon. And like people left reviews under it just about how pimp and badass the shirt was, and it just kept devolving further and further into ridiculousness.
I missed this trend somehow, I guess.
Yeah. I guarantee you, internet's forever, dude. If you looked up 3 Wolves t-shirt, you'd probably find it.
I missed it wholeheartedly. All right, let's go into the next page. So there's a lot of pages in here of battles. They basically at the beginning, they're like, all right, we're going to charge Puppet Master, Toy Guy, String Puller. What the heck is his name?
Games Master.
We're going to charge Games Master's HQ. Right. And then there's like fights in the woods, basically. They split up into teams and there's fights in the woods. And so there's a lot of that. And in fact, when I got done taking all my screenshots of moments I thought were pretty high, I had like 11. I had to cut that down to about 8. So I picked this one very specifically because this gal whose name I'm not going to remember, you're going to have to help me out. Sienna Blaze. She did like some huge electromagnetic blast thing and took out every member of this team. It was supposed to kill them all, but they survived, and they survived because Speedball extended his kinetic force bubble to protect them, thereby saving them all. And I thought, well, anytime there's a power development, something we haven't seen before, I thought it was worth talking about.
I agree with that, and I cannot resist Scott's pun of burnt sienna. That's just funny. It really is. And Heinz Cook says that he has 2 of the 3 Wolves t-shirts. So like, I guess he just has one for backup, and he goes out and like the chicks just flock to him. And like, we're just over here being lame, but he's over there with the chicks. Anyway, enough of the 3 Wolves t-shirt. Speedball, I did like this. I did, because we talked about Sienna Blaze last month, and like her power set is insane. She is ridiculously strong, like with her power set. And they made it a point to say she saw these powerhouses with Warpath, et cetera, and she just absolutely unleashed on them to the point that nothing outside of the Hulk should have been left standing. And there you got Robbie Baldwin, Speedball. And it was enough that he could talk a little bit he had enough left that he could talk a little bit of trash, and he just passed out. And so that says something. Like, we have wondered there's a second power reveal of sorts that we have with Speedball later. I don't know if you captured it or not, but like, this goes to show you how freaking strong this dude is. Like, he had enough that he could repel. It was at cost, but he repelled the very powerful electromagnetic attack of Sienna Blaze. So good on him for that. That was something. You're on mute, Jarrod.
I concur. I like the way when she's standing proud and defiant, she thrusts the hip out. By the way, that's sticking that hip out there.
I often do that at the gym. If I get a good set, just sit there and pose. Yeah.
I'm backing up. I realize this. Okay, I was just checking on something. All right. So going to my next page. All right. So yeah, there's more things going on. This one I picked for two reasons. One, Cannonball's losing it, and he in that bottom right corner, and Cable is trying to talk sense into him before he gets like vibrated into a bazillion pieces. And I don't remember if I have the follow up on the next page. We'll find out momentarily. And the other reason I picked it is because Night Thrasher said something funny, which is not normally what he does. What did he say in that last bubble? But I can't read; it's too small on my screen.
So he says, "I'll read the whole thing." He says, "Sorry to do this to you, Angel. Yeah, but short of some stinging in your eyes and throat tomorrow, this cayenne spray won't be too bad. But if you happen to ask who did it to you, I'll still blame Nova."
He's gonna pass it off on Nova. Yeah. So he there's a lot of funny one-liners in this book. Fabian was in his joke bag on this one, which is good because it's just like I said, it's a lot of just an action-filled episode. So it's fun to add something to that, which he did with the humor and a little bit of the heart, which you got the humor up there, and then like I said, you got the Cable Cannonball thing is more of a heart thing. So it is a nice balance. Anyway, over to you.
Yeah, in the early issues of X-Force, and I think the reason why they kind of went away from the storyline is because I remember Fabian saying that he was kind of unceremoniously dumped from the book, and he was like a little bit red about it because he's like X-Force was like a top 10 selling book at the time. And back then a top 10 selling book means that it was selling like 6 figures.
Yeah. Like seriously, over 100,000 copies easily.
Yeah, it was. So X-Force was a fantastically selling book, and they're like, we're going to replace you with someone else. And so he had an idea when, like, because one of the reasons that Cable stuck around with X-Force was because he thought that Cannonball was going to be like an Eternal or an External or something like that, or basically like some key figure that was going to lead them all, like, and that turned out not to be the case. And I think the main reason that didn't happen is because Fabian simply left the book, so they just moved in a different direction. I bet that the listening audience is going to correct me on it, and I'm going to read a pretty cool vignette from Scott that I'd heard a little bit about. I'm glad Scott mentioned it. He says, fun fact, the Speedball Sienna page was meant to foreshadow a story they ended up not doing. If Fabian stayed on the book past issue 53, they were planning on doing a story where it would be revealed that Robbie Baldwin actually died during the lab accident that gave him his powers and was replaced by pure kinetic energy that somehow absorbed Baldwin's mind and personality. They had a cover for it and everything, but when Fabian left, they scrapped the story. I remember hearing something about that where it was like, I mean, that would have been interesting, super dark, but it would have been very interesting to have that storyline. And now, of course, the question is, and I remember, like, I don't know whether you read this through Marvel Unlimited, right, Jarrod?
Yes.
So do they have letters pages in Marvel Unlimited?
No, I don't think so.
By the time, like, I mean, they gave Fabian a chance for him to say his goodbye, but it was kind of like interesting. Like, okay, I'm leaving. Things in my life are kind of like, kind of topsy-turvy right now. So I guess I got to go. So bye. And so I'm like, It seems like he left and he didn't necessarily want to. And while, he is a friend of this show and I could probably ask him that question, it seems very, very personal. And so I'm not going to ask him that question. Who knows what was going on in the gentleman's life at the time. But I definitely would have loved to have seen more of his new Warriors. And who knows, maybe one day he can come back to it. Probably not, but who knows? I can always hope for it. Eric Porter mentioned, by the way, he says, nope, we're still waiting for a full explanation on that whole externals thing. See? Yeah. Like, I know that, like, Cable thought that Cannonball was immortal and that he was grooming him to be that next one, but that never happened. Anyway, next page.
All right. Okay, let's see. Why did I pick this one? Well, first of all, it's a good picture of Cable. Oh, is this the one? Yeah, this is a lot. There's a couple of good humors on this page. First of all, I love how his thigh is like 3 times the size of his head, and all pouched up. You put pouches on it, we get to 4 times the size. But this is one where I used the joke earlier where he said, "You would name Marita." She goes, "Chimera." And he says, "Gesundheit."
Yes.
And then it was followed by another funnier joke where he called like Rage like the big guy or something. Like he mispronounced Speedball's name. He called him something close but off.
Called him Super Ball
and the big guy. And he's like, "That's Speedball." And Rage just went, "Yeah, and I'm big guy."
and the big guy.
And he's like, "I'm just gonna roll with this. It's fine."
I would absolutely be okay with that. It's like, like if somebody built like Cable is like, and the big guy with quads 3 times the size of his head. If he looked at you and said big guy, then I'm like, hey. I am the big guy. Look at me. I worked out. I did find it funny too that like they actually did the whole foregoing. I was like, look, okay, like we see each other, we're not gonna fight each other. There are more important things than playing. Like, yes, absolutely, agreed. Good day to you, sir. Good day to you, sir. And then they went ahead with the plan and then still wound up having to fight each other anyway. Against their will, but like some of them had to fight each other. That is how it goes. I mean, we didn't get this comic book for them just to be having subtle discussions with each other. Now, did we?
I do love the terrible, terrible planning where they're like, well, this guy's one of the strongest telepaths on the planet. He already knows where we are, what we're going to do. Control minds. Let's ram him. Like I don't know, man. I would have retreated and seen if I got some help from Professor X or Jean Grey or somebody.
I agree. Because the whole point, like if you remember one of the subtle points at the end of 2 where Shinobi Shaw was in his loft or condo, whatever, with Justice, and it's like, I had this condo fortified with like mental barrier blocker, things, and he can't read me, and Games Master was like, I read all of this, and so I would have thought at a minimum Cable would have known what was going on. He's like, I think he's one of the most powerful telepaths. And he's not a telepath because the thing that they mentioned in part 2 is he's an omnipath, meaning that like pretty much at all times, he's in everyone's mind. So they completely underestimated their foe. Like I give Dwayne credit for having a pretty decent strategy. He's like, okay, we think he's a telepath. My intel said that he's a telepath. Dwayne isn't a mutant. I'll forgive him for that. He's a old teenager, possibly like young 20s, right? So, okay, maybe his preparation was as good as it possibly could have been, even with the backings of the Taylor Foundation. I will forgive that. It's harder for me to forgive a team of mutants, to include Cable, who came from the future. And he was like, I think he's a telepath. It's like, no, he's not. And that, not knowing that, meant that he basically sent all of his young proteges into battle and they could have just had their minds taken over, and they could have completely died. And by all rights, they did. They lost. They all lost to where Games Master was going to kill him. I don't know if that's good. I don't know what next page you have. Maybe that's a good transition.
I did this like 2 days ago, so my brain doesn't work right. Okay, yeah, I did follow up with the Cable.
Another power reveal.
Yeah, another power reveal. Breaking through to Cannonball, and because they're basically like, "Hey, you've always had a bit of telekinesis, but no telepathy or that kind of thing. But apparently, maybe you have some, right?" It's like, yeah. I mean, I don't know how that was ever resolved. I know that it was heavily hinted at back in the 90s that he was like the son of Scott and Jean, hence the mental abilities.
So he technically Jean, Scott and Madeline Pryor, who's a clone of Jean.
Well, of course. Which this has nothing to do with this page, but I remember earlier in the book they were like, "Yeah, we're at Shinobi Shaw's place that he built on the grave of his dad, Sebastian Shaw." And I was like, "He's dead?" And I was like, "Nobody's ever dead."
No, I mean he was dead at that point. That was one of they mentioned that last issue that that's how Shinobi and got his points with the upstarts. Like, I killed my dad, and it's like,
I really should start paying attention to these books we read.
It wouldn't hurt. So yeah, I saw something Scott wrote that I just wanted to mention, and since we talked about Fabian, and he said I think he had a very young kid on top of writing half of the Marvel universe, and there had been a bunch of changes in editorial on the New Warriors titles. That makes sense. It's just possible that an editor came on and was like, okay, I want to move into a different direction. So who knows? There's I get like I just had an idea. You know how they do like behind the music? They could have like behind the comics. Like if you had somebody reaching out to these different people and you could find out like different stories about like why this story fell through or why this run fell short or whatever. Anyway,
let's do a podcast called Jarrod and Delvin Guess at how these things happened. It will make up the story, and maybe we'll be right once in a while.
I don't know, like every third one I'm gonna be like cocaine. Somebody just got into a bunch of cocaine, especially if in the 80s. It probably fit. We're getting distracted.
Like, wait, Thor's a frog now, man. And wait. Now he's got a horse head. He's like Thor, but he's got a head.
And it's like the lesson learned. Don't trip and get high with your editor. Like you have to keep those separated.
Separate.
You cannot be in
Once
the same
Simonson started. Yeah.
Oh man. Let's see. Oh, I think this was the first reveal of Cable having telepathy. He had always been a telekine or telekinetic because that's what he used to hold the techno-organic virus that he was infected with. That's what he used to hold it back. So like that's why it was like he had that metal left arm. That's the techno-organic virus that he has contained in his body. If he ever loses control of that, his body starts getting taken over by the techno-organic virus. That much I remember because I read Cable and I read X-Force.
If he gets taken over by the techno virus, it's going to be like. Anyway.
Yeah. Next page, please.
That's what y'all come here for. We know.
Oh, Auburn Elvis dropped in, by the way. Hello to Auburn Elvis. And I think I said Courtney, but if I didn't, I'll say it again. Hello, Courtney.
All right. So basically, everybody ends up getting wiped out by the Games Master just because he can.
Yep.
And it's funny. I'm gonna pat myself on the back since I'm kind of bad at this in this universe, but like everybody's down and this sort of creature comes in, gangly looking black creature, and then it kind of morphs into the beautiful young lady that we see in the top panel. And my first thought was, isn't there a mutant named Husk that does that? And later on, the name Husk got dropped, and I was like, yes, go Jarrod. I got one right. So I just wanted to share with you guys, I actually got one right. Probably from my New Mutants days. I want to say she ran around with them. I may be wrong.
Now, that's the part where you're incorrect. She did run with Generation X.
Oh, I never read any of that, so I don't know how I know about Husk then.
You would know about her, Paige Guthrie, because she's the sister of Sam Guthrie, Cannonball.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
I got that
now,
much.
yeah, I didn't read a lot of New Mutants. The only New Mutants I really read was when Rob Liefeld started drawing, and I think Fabian Nicieza started writing it, and that was like right towards the end of the run where they morphed into X-Force. But I know that, and Scott O'Neill mentioned it earlier, one of the purposes of this book was an introduction to the mutant abilities of Paige Guthrie, aka Husk.
And like all I can tell so far is that like she can shed like a husk and to have some new exterior. And so she shows up and having like snuck through a time jump tube or something. I don't remember exactly, but she shows up and everybody's kind of been taken out. And she's like, I don't know what my power can do to help. And I'm like, I'm really interested to see what twist he pulls on this to make this happen. And then it doesn't really feel like she ever used the power. She just was like, hey man, why kill all these people and all that when you could step up your game the next level and be the next Xavier or Magneto? And he was like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, yeah.
And they were like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. I'm not sure how the Husk power came into play. I don't think it did.
It did not.
But all right. I mean, sure.
Yeah.
Over to you, Delvin.
That really is about it. Just history for anyone listening. Scott O'Neill helpfully adds the Phalanx Covenant crossover, the one that introduced the kids who would be in Gen X, ran in the summer of '94, a couple of months after this issue. So this was kind of like her prequel of sorts. And Eric Porter even talked to that, says this was the preview of Generation X. So yeah, I remember the Phalanx Covenant being a big storyline. Phalanx was this big, like basically race of techno-organic creatures. They came to Earth and then tried to like take over the Earth and turn everybody into, the techno-organic thing or whatever. So the entire planet, Jarrod, would have been eat. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Okay. So she didn't use any of her powers. She didn't. But she used her greatest power, which is her mind.
I'm glad you said that because I was thinking of something else. But
to be fair, no, she's a kid. To be fair, like it was smart enough. Like she gets a ton of credit for thinking on her feet because, like, even Fabian is like, what can she do right now to save her brother? It's like nothing. He was going to die out there in the cold, or maybe Games Master was going to finally just take them all and just kill them because he was like, yeah, this is my game. These is my rules. And that was going to be the thing that happened. But she's like, hold up, wait. I got a different game for you. And he's like, go on. And she brought up the idea, which turned out to be a very good idea, at least because he was like, oh, all this time, I was just thinking that, I could just mess around with some freaking mouthy teenagers. I could actually be, molding them, and having them do my bidding. And that was it. So that's all I got.
All right. So I didn't miss much. I got the
You did.
Okay.
You did.
All right. Now, did you say she's supposed to be like young?
Like probably 13, 14 young. Yeah.
All right. Not drawn that way, but all right. I feel bad now. All right. So, yeah, call me Colossus, I guess. All right. So this is maybe my favorite part of the book, just in my sarcastic little snide little way. It's like this is dude at the end who's all looking out at the rain, being all complete. We play to win. What was he saying down there? He just read that last 3 red panel thing and then his final words.
So he says to you and to Charlie and Dwayne Taylor, to Forge and Exodus and Mr. Sinister, to all of you out there, let the game begin.
And I was like, yeah, whoever that guy is that Games Master in his off time?
That is my guess, is that's the Games Master.
Now, so he has a family? He's got a family photo there in the second red panel.
He does. Like, I mean, and I'm sure at some point his wife's like, you know, honey, it just feels like you're just off in a different place sometimes.
I've supported this whole Games Master thing for a while now, and it's not going anywhere.
Well, it did. Like, she's like, I just feel like you're in he's like, a different place sometimes. You should always do that. Stop reading my mind.
You're always reading my mind. He like finishes it, says, reading my mind. So this is what this dude, he's like a turtleneck, big glass. Okay, all right, sure.
And like, so I can't remember, somebody very helpfully mentioned that they did bring him back, at least with the whole House of X thing, which literally involved every mutant that ever existed. So, but like, did they do anything immediately after this? No. Like, it was never a thing where you had Charles on one side and then Magneto on one side. And then it's like, and Games Master, hey, I'm over here. Like, no, he never did. Like, I don't know. Maybe his wife, got him involved on like a very elaborate house project. I don't know.
And really, from a macro view now, 46 issues into this, I'm seeing a theme here. And maybe, I don't know, I don't want to guess at things going on behind the scenes at Marvel, but I have seen a theme over 46 issues of Fabian either creating villains or taking villains that are sidelined and giving them big things to do in the future that never pan out. Because Games Master, after I read all this story arc, I go, okay, yeah, he's a heavy hitter who has designs on being a mutant leader of some kind, maybe a third faction between, like Charles and Magneto and him. But like, it's like he has these big ideas that no one else ever runs with. And
I guess
I feel bad for the dude from that respect.
And I guess as a writer, that's the thing you do. Like, if you come up with something that's like, if you come up with something that people want to just immediately take and then use in purpose, but like, if you remember from our conversation with Fabian, he mentioned that like at the time, like especially from like the start of the book, when they didn't know how the book was going to do, right? They were like, okay, you can use these characters that no one else is really using, and you could use these heroes because no one would mind necessarily if they repurposed them, because Marvel wasn't doing anything with them at the time. So he was given a limited playbook or play box, as you will, and then was able to eventually grow on it to where now he has a crossover with 2 books that he's writing, one on the X-Force side and then the New Mutant side. So it did look like he was trying to create a big faction, which he would have had the power to move, because he may have also been writing X-Men at the time too. So like, the dude was writing, so he had every right to come up with a character that possibly could have been picked up and used from here on out. By the way, Scott O'Neill says that they used him to mess up the entirety of Shatterstar's backstory. Is that seriously, they made Shatterstar so much more complicated than he needed to be.
It was the 90s. That's the rule. You have to overcomplicate everyone's backstory.
Absolutely. It was the 90s. Like, everyone's backstory had to be ridiculous. I mean, they did that with Wolverine forever and ever. Like, oh my God, this is why people come, because his past is so shrouded in mystery. It's like, not really. There's like many other things that are cool about Wolverine beside the fact that he couldn't remember his past. Anyway, so yeah, that's what they wound up doing with Shatterstar as well. And all I remember, I remember his name. It was like Gavidra 7. That's it. I don't remember anything else from his past or like any of it. And I probably was reading it at the time. So, yeah. Just to add to the point, Scott says, yeah, Donna Troy and Jean Grey just looked at Shatterstar and said, boy, turn that itch down.
Oh, gee. As soon as you said Donna Troy, I was like, oh, my head hurts.
Oh, every time. I've collected a few volumes of the Titans, and every time it's a Donna Troy storyline, it's like,
I mean, they managed to jack up. We're going to go far afield here, but they managed to jack up like Jason Todd. Like, they're like, he's back. And you're like, oh, wow, how'd that happen? They're like, Death's door was left open and he walked back through.
Yeah, there was a revolving door.
You're going with that? You're going. Okay, sure. Why not?
Yeah, and they were like, and we were like, like, do you want him back or not?
I guess I know. Do I? But there were some pretty funny things in the chat, by the way, about around the family picture frame. I think it was Jason Lady said that it's the picture that came in the frame. He's too lazy to change. And then, in this episode of Jarrod and Delvin make up the backstories of why things happen. I think Fabian Nicieza, his big ideas don't get picked up. He kind of abruptly fades off books. My theory is that there was some big power editor or writer, like a Tom DeFalco style guy at Marvel who was all set to do like a 50-issue Swimming Bear series. And then Fabian didn't ask permission for that one, and it ruined everything he was about to do. So he was like, that's it. You're done. You're done at Marvel. You're done here.
And so for the next couple of years, like, Fabian will wake up in a cold sweat and just go, "See, urchin!"
50-issue run of Sea Urchin.
Maybe we should move on to Warrior and Warrior.
All right. Yeah, let's do that. Actually, I think that was the very last page. Yeah, it was.
It was.
Let's talk about our Warrior and our Worrier. I guess we're all worried about Fabian. This is things are not going the way. But in the book, let's try to see if we keep in the book. Who do you think acquitted themselves very well as the Warrior? We'll start there.
I'll go Cable.
I was gonna say like Husk because she.
Yeah, Husk is like, I think she acquitted herself the best. So you take Husk, I'll take Cable, only because Cable / Speedball, because both of them had power reveals. Yep. The one power reveal that we didn't discuss that they mentioned, and maybe like as Scott was hinting to, that was a going to be a hint as to a reveal later down the line. The Games Master, who is an Omnipath, says, I cannot read this kid's mind. And I was like, wonder why. And like, I guess it's a good way that you couldn't read the guy's mind because, he's dead. So, yeah, kind of hard to read someone's mind. Dead man telling no tales.
That makes a ton of sense now.
Yeah.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, who are we worried about?
I'd say we're just worried about the team in general right now. If I'm the team, I'm a little bit shaken up. Like, they had this plan, like Night Thrasher. If you think about the whole of it, Night Thrasher and Justice planned this whole thing, and it didn't work. Like Thrasher's intel was not that great. It's like, okay, I kind of heard a little bit about this, and we're going to set this, sting up essentially where Justice is doing all this stuff, and it's going to work out so good.
The final plan is we're going to ram it.
Right. Yeah. There's his house. Let's launch off it. Like, it's just like, no, the plan didn't work. It did not work. It failed spectacularly. And if it weren't for Husk, they would all be dead or subjugated to whatever the Games Master wanted them to do. So I'm just worried about the team in general. But if I had to pick one person in particular, I'd say Dwayne. I'd say Night Thrasher.
Especially if you think about the story from his point of view. Like you said, he cooks up this plan. We're going to launch off it. All right. Now imagine you're him. And you're like, okay, so what we're going to do. We got it. Let's go. I can't remember who takes him out in the blink of an eye. He's unconscious.
Right.
You wake up. Husk is there, and she's like, well, I talked to the guy. Like, that's a weird spot to be in. Like, what happened? You don't know what happened.
Right. And then, yeah, it kind of be like one of those, like, huh. I spent $7,324,000 on this operation. I could have just talked to him.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Well.
And then in true 90s fashion, just runs up to us like, no one will know. All right. Let's see. Did you say who you were worried about?
I guess in the end, Charles Xavier. I mean, we kind of know this isn't really going to go anywhere, but if it did go like it maybe should have, now this dude not only has to worry about Magneto's recruits, now we got to worry about this guy's recruits. And
the White Queen too. They forgot to mention the White Queen because she's out there still, with the Hellfire Club and everything. Auburn Elvis asked, wait, they changed Namorita's name to Chimera? They did. That's two issues. Catch up, Auburn Elvis. Like, go back, read Warriors 44.
I don't think it's gonna take. I've never heard anyone call her Chimera. I've always heard her referred to as Namorita.
She's Chimera. She's Chimera for now. So
I don't think it's taking.
Her mama named her Chimera. I'm calling her Chimera.
This is Kitty Pryde trying to make Sprite happen.
Or Ariel. I didn't like either one of those. Scott says, fun fact, in Fabian's last issue of X-Force, since Fabian clearly didn't know it would be his last issue, he started a new story where Boomer wanted to help runaways like she had been. Fabian had Boomer run into Kelly Hitchcock from the Child Watch Foundation. If they sound familiar, that character and that org had only one other Marvel appearance in the Justice for Control mini. So he was trying to do some things, and like somebody at some point said, Matt Passo says for his Warrior, probably Cable Warrior, the new Warriors, because where are we going next? Good question.
Well, it's got a blank slate, so he can tell a fresh new story. I mean, I don't know, but it's like a new arc.
It's hazy, and a new arc is about to start, but we'll get to that. Jason Lady says Warriors, Husk, very brave and smart and saved the day. Warrior, Magma, Karma, and Empath, because they disappear after this for like 100 years.
What was the first one on his list of people he's worried about? Say it again.
Magma.
Thank you.
Yes. Scott says Warrior, maybe Speedy for saving the other three. Nobody really covered themselves in glory. Agreed. Like,
only Husk really saved the day.
Mm-hmm. Like, the best that they could do up until that point was Speedball just like offering a good defense and then passing out. Scott O'Neill says Warrior. Paige sacrificed the future to save the present. If the writers, editors hadn't forgotten about it all, it could have really hit the fan. I agree. I agree. Games Master could have been like a world level threat. Really could have been.
Except for the fact that he has like a ponytail and a turtleneck and
dude, that showed how badass you were back in the 90s.
I thought he was just like an omniscient being thing. I didn't realize he was like a dude with a house and a family.
Same. I agree. And like that ponytail, you could either be like ready to pull out a switchblade or ready to like sing Color Me Bad.
Yeah.
We're getting close to an hour. But Auburn Elvis says Husk, as the Warrior, she stood up to a dude who was much more powerful than her, and she kind of saved everyone. She absolutely saved everyone. She did. So I guess we should rate the book. Yeah, let's do that. 1 to 10, what did you think about New Warriors 46? I can't say Child's Play as a whole because it wasn't completely contained in this book. Man, like my first read on this, like I wasn't super impressed. And I think for a couple of reasons. I can't blame any writer for creating characters. That's what writers do, right? So I can't be mad at Fabian and say, how dare you? You should have used an already existing character. You shouldn't have tried to fluff your own character, Games Master, up to be bigger than what he was. No, you're lame, Fabian. Who am I? I can't say that. So what I will say is, for a 4-part storyline to essentially end with everyone being knocked the F out, and the only reason that they survived is because a child hitched a ride along when she shouldn't have, I wasn't crazy about that. I was legitimately wondering how this storyline was going to end, because again, it's been about 30 years, I've forgotten. And then I got to the ending, I was like, okay. It wasn't my favorite. It wasn't. Like, I didn't mind the action, I didn't mind the artwork, but just something about it fell flat to me. So like, I'm going to give it a 6. To me, like, I'm not going to 5 it, like say average. I'll put it at slightly above average for me. What do you think?
Well, couple things before I give my score. One, I can't believe I forgot to mention this in our discussion, because Cable played the role of like all of us from like 2 issues ago when Namorita was like, I've changed, will they accept me? Because if you notice, Cable was like, you look good in blue, by the way. Anyways, blah, blah, blah. We all knew that's how everyone was going to react.
Yeah.
Except for her. The other thing I want to bring up before I give the score is Chucky, the demonic doll from the horror films.
Yes.
Does not appear in this book. And I just want to bring that up specifically for Jim. There you go. Now it's been brought up. I guess we could have told you that last episode and saved you some time. But in the end, and you know how I hate to use this phrase. I hate to use this phrase, but I'm going to use it. I agree with Auburn Elvis. He says, I feel like the story is all over the place. Is it just me? He said that in the comments. And no, it was all over the place. It really felt like an excuse for Fabian to say, hey, I'm writing these 2 books. I want to bring it together. I didn't realize, and you may have mentioned it before, maybe it got past me, but the Games Master was his creation. I thought he was sort of a fringe character that he plucked and used. I didn't realize it was a Fabian thing. So yeah, it was a little all over the place. It felt like a reason to mix. I think I mentioned this in the last episode. I've seen creators who are on different books mix almost perfectly before, and I'll use the Deadpool Black Panther mix from the awesome writer whose name just fell out of my head because that's how my brain works these days. Help me out, Delvin. Who was writing
Joe Kelly?
Christopher Priest, right?
Thank you.
Yes, Chris Priest. I never can remember if it was him or James Owsley. It was one of the two. They were a perfect blend of story, and this was a little disjointed. It was hard for me to keep up, but I will say that, like last episode, its confusing nature just makes it all the more lovably 90s, because that's just how things were done back then, and that has a bit of nostalgia for it. Long-winded Jason the Weasel Skull Albrook answer there to land exactly where you did. I'll say it's a 6.
Okay. We got a little bit. Jason Lady says, I thought John Byrne, Wills Portasio created Games Master and Uncanny X. I don't know. I don't know, Jason.
I believe you. I don't.
I tell you what, you got about maybe 2 to 3 minutes of looking it up while I'm reading some boilerplate, and I'll get to you. And we will reveal it. A couple more comments to read. Scott says, I think my favorite part of the crossover was the panel revealing how badly X Factor smacked down Fenris. Yeah, they're a little bit overpowered for that. Fenris bit off a little bit more than they chewed, because that X Factor team was powerful. And Jarrod,
according to the Marvel wiki site, his first appearance was in Uncanny X-Men number 283, created by John Byrne and Wills Portasio, but that was October 91, so not a Fabian creation, but relatively new. Like, he was just there, so anyway.
Yep, I appreciate that. And I have Uncanny X-Men 283, and I don't remember Games Master. Like, I remember a decent amount of comic books history. I don't remember Games Master.
There's a panel where Wolverine is slashing open Omega Red. In the background, there's a dude with a turtleneck. in a ponytail. He's got a mug and his wife and his kid.
Matt Faso gives it a 7 overall, and Jason Lady says a 6. The fights felt perfunctory and by the numbers. Karma and the other former New Mutants barely factor in, feels overstuffed and rushed. At least they close off the wretched upstart storyline. Yeah, I for a 4-parter, it felt like more could have been done. Like, and they split it off into the books, and that's okay. Because that's how you do. That's especially back in the day. That's how they did crossovers, and that's fine. But to me, something new has to happen. And like the big reveal that happened in the Child's Play 2 was that Games Master was an Omnipath and was super, super, super powerful. And they still hadn't figured that out somehow. By the time that they're about to invade this dude's like sanctum sanctorum, as it were. And that's the thing that kind of just, I'm like, really? So, okay, yeah, it is what it is. We have closed out Child's Play run for it. And ladies, and yeah, I agree, by the way, Albert Elvis, I would have given this book an extra point if Dwayne had bust out a snowboard, because he's done that before. He did that a couple of years ago when they were invading Gideon's place.
The last time he busted into someone's house to get his ass whooped. He's 0 for 2 and busted into people's houses.
Yeah, there'll be a lesson there, kids. Don't bust into people's houses. Just knock on the door. Just talk to them. It'd probably be a lot easier. Everybody, that is the show. Come back and join us for the next episode. We discuss New Warriors 47, where the Warriors jump out of one multi-comic series and land into another with time and time again. That's going to take us all the way to 50, by the way, Jarrod. 47, 48, 49, 50. It's a crossover. It was a New Warriors-related crossover solely. It involved Night Thrasher's book, and it involved Nova's book. And no, we don't have to cover all of that. That'd be a lot of reading, but like we will definitely cover the 4 issues leading up to issue 50. And I will let you know that the bad guy of it, if you may have guessed or not, is the Sphinx. The Sphinx is actually twin brother Sphinx. You're on mute, by the way.
Last time I saw a Sphinx, it was a lady.
Yes. You remember, like, there's a whole storyline, and then like we're gonna have twin brother Sphinxes going on there. Sphinxes are spreading. All right. Where can you find us? You can find us all over the place. Any podcatcher you can think of probably has a LONGBOX Crusade in it. Go check us out. Twitter X, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky. You can find us if you look up LONGBOX Crusade. We have a Crusaders Club. You find us on Patreon, only $1 a month. We put a decent amount of original content there. Jarrod puts I Seen It, which covers the gamut of anything that he watches, because that boy is always watching content. I'm doing an I Heard It, where I have people send me in comments, suggestions for songs I may or may not have heard, and I cover those. So anytime that we reach a milestone, Jarrod and I will cover a new movie that we may or may not have watched. So we did that just recently, since we recently went over 50, and we reviewed Flash Gordon for our Crusaders Club. So a lot of original content all over the place, y'all. You can email us at contact@longboxcrusade.com. You're listening to this live stream on YouTube. Please tell a friend about it. We'll love if you both subscribed to LONGBOX Crusade, where we put a lot of original content there too. Phone numbers going across the screen now, 707-532-LBOX. And Jarrod, tell everybody where you can be found.
I am at Yard Sale Artist on X, Facebook, and Instagram. Back to Delvin.
Scott wanted to know who's doing it. I Smelt It. That's a part of the demerit that I'm sending you. So
kind of Clinton by default.
That's true. He's in the basement, and we don't have a shower down there. You can find me Threads and Instagram, Delvin Ray, and again, I'm not gonna remember Blue Sky because that thing's too long. That address is too long on there. But if you look up Delvin W, you'll probably find me there. I follow a decent amount of comic book creators too and stuff. So I'm around there on Blue Sky too, just piddling around. See you all next time. And remember, be a hero to someone, even if it's just to yourself. Until next month, New Warriors. Come out to play.
Bye, everybody.
Night, everybody.